getting booty. Thank you.
They said, go out there and rob these houses and bring back the bounty, and then that'll pay your way.
Because Republicans who get endorsement from Georgia carry that they mean anything.
You can't sit on the sidelines any longer. You must get involved in the game. This is your sign. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to this Wednesday night, Small Town Underground. We are starting a bit late. We had some technical difficulties, all of Kylie and myself getting ready, computer crashes, and you name it. So I appreciate everybody that has reached out, but we are live. We are also recording this show in case something happens and we drop out. And if so, we will post it in its entirety this evening, but again, just a bunch of plagues tonight. But I think we got it all straightened out, and your camera is coming in wonderful. So thank you, guys. As always, you can go to givesendgo.com/smalltownunderground if you'd like to support the channel and support the work that we're doing here. And tonight, we have a special guest. We are going to have a conversation with Miss Kylie Kremer, who we've been talking a little while. I'm sure she has been making her rounds on all the shows everywhere. Things are just heating up, getting ready for the coming convention and all of the things we have going on in this country. So Kylie's all over the place, and she's taking her time to let me interview her tonight. So we welcome you to the show, Kylie. How are you?
Thank you so much, Roy, for having me, and I'm great. The technical issues were on my end, everyone. I am in a hotel, as you can see from the background behind me. So I'm in Miami at the RNC spring meeting, and there were just a little issues. So I apologize. If something happens, then I will log back on.
Absolutely, and we will be taking comments tonight. Everything is up and streaming, and I'm pulling the chats up now. Looks like, okay, good. People are coming in. Good. So tonight I want to kind of get to know you a little bit, Kylie. You know, we haven't known each other very long. We've talked a few times. You're running for the assistant secretary position for the state convention, the GOP. And so, I've watched a lot of stuff in the last few weeks about different things. I follow your X account, and it's the social media is just a wild, wild land. So I wanted to take a little bit of time and just find out, who is Kylie Kremer? I know you've got a lot of activism under your belt. So I want to introduce you to my audience. So can you tell us a little bit about your background, maybe share a little bit about your J6 experience and so on?
Sure. Well, thank you again for having me. I'm very excited. And yes, I just met you, I think, for the first time up in Rome, maybe earlier this year. Was that correct?
Somewhere, yeah.
But I have been communicating with you on social media, as I'm sure many of you watching I communicate with. And that's a great way for anyone to connect with me. My DMs are open on Twitter. I do use other social media platforms, but that's mostly where you find me. So it's just my name, Kylie Jane Kremer, on X, not Twitter. And yes, so I am running for Georgia GOP Assistant Secretary. It was never anything that I set out to do. And honestly, had you told me this a year ago, I would have laughed at you and told you that I would never do it. But I felt really compelled to step up when I was seeing how the field was kind of laying out leading into the deadline for filing. I was not happy with what I was seeing. So I decided to throw my name out there, and it has been a whirlwind. I started in politics when I was in college. My mom was starting the Tea Party movement. And to be completely honest, I thought she was a bit crazy. Everything that I was seeing when I was at school was these pitchfork holding people that were dressed up that the media was painting as just these extreme crazy people. So I started flying out and meeting my mom all across the country. And then I started interning for Tea Party Express and working for them. And I had the pleasure of working all across the nation in 49 of the 50 states on different congressional and Senate campaigns. And we have sent some of the biggest fighters to Washington, many of whom are still there today. Ted Cruz, Rand Paul, Mike Lee. The list is very long. Marco Rubio, who's now in Trump's cabinet. So I'm very fortunate to have had that experience. And that's kind of what laid the groundwork for my foundation in politics. After a number of years of doing that, I left Tea Party Express, and then I went to New York City, where I was a producer for Sean Hannity. It was a wonderful experience. I was so grateful for the opportunity, but I never set to live out in New York. I was born and raised in Atlanta and Marietta. I went to Lasser High School. So when I went to New York, it was an incredible experience. I did that for several years, and I really just missed the campaign trail. So I decided to leave, and I took the position at Women for America First as executive director. And as we all have seen, the world changed with COVID in 2020. So it was a bit of a transition going from being a producer in 2019. I actually left in December of 2019, and then January was, excited about my new job, and then the world just fell apart. Mm-hmm. So the first major thing that we did with Women for America First is we started the Stop the Steal March for Trump movement that began on the night of the election in 2020. We were all watching from our homes. I'm sure as many of you in the audience, and Roy, I'm sure you know exactly where you were that night. And you're watching saying, what the hell is going on? You go to sleep or you're still up, and all of a sudden you start to see these numbers start changing. They're stopping counting. That's right. They're bringing in balance. There was the water line break in Georgia. Just all of this craziness, something that we had never seen before. And I don't know about you, Roy, but for me, I had never really focused on Georgia because, again, born and raised there, Republican led. We were continuing to trend to the right. And all of a sudden, we were now this battleground state. And it was very alarming, very, very alarming. So I did the only thing that I knew what to do with talking to people all across the nation. And we came together as a coalition to launch the March for Trump and Stop the Steal. So we were holding rallies in all the respective swing states. And then there were also rallies going on in states just in solidarity with us, saying, we may not be a swing state and we may be solidly red for Trump, but something's wrong here. So the first major rally that we had was December 14th in Washington, D.C. at Freedom Plaza. Many of you may remember that is when Trump did the drive around and the famous picture of him waving in the car. And then the next one, so from that point, we launched the March for Trump buses, and we went coast to coast from November to January 6th. And that was amazing. We were targeting select districts and states to try and put pressure on the senators and congressmen there, holding rallies so that they would have the support that they needed to know when they got to Washington, D.C. on January 6th, that the people were behind them if they delayed certification.
Right.
So that's what we did. November 14th, December 12th, and then January 6th. I think I said that a little bit wrong, but January 6th, we were at the White House Ellipse with President Trump. I had the honor of being asked to speak that day. I held the permit, but as everybody knows, it is the president's event once Secret Service takes over. Right. So I was upset that many of my team members were not able to speak. And I initially said I was not going to speak as well, as did my mother. And she's chairman of Women for America First. But we were told the president says, you are speaking. So I'm so grateful that yes. So I'm so grateful that I had that opportunity and that experience, because looking back, I mean, once in a lifetime thing. Roy, I cannot tell you the just amount of people that were there. I mean, it was the most overwhelming thing. I still get chills thinking about it today. There were people coming from every single direction, and it just did not stop.
Right.
So we had a beautiful event at the White House Ellipse that was full of love and patriotism, as President Trump says. And it's the biggest crowd that he's ever spoken to, and I obviously as well. So after that event, we went back to the Willard Hotel. He left back immediately to go to the White House. We went back to the Willard Hotel, which is right there next to the White House. And we have watched everything unfold. Unfortunately, the last 4 years have been very difficult.
Right.
Obviously, we all, saw the horror of what the media was displaying on TV that night. And unfortunately, there were several lives lost, not at the hands of Trump supporters, but Ashley Babbitt and Roseanne Boylan, and some others, and very heartbreaking and tragic. I was on Fox News that evening talking about it. We denounced all of the violence that was happening at the Capitol. But as we knew then, and as we know even more, with proof today, was that was not Trump supporters that were doing that.
That's right.
They were infiltrated, and we were saying that from day one, but now we have a lot more evidence that is continuing to come forward. That's we hope that we all get justice from that.
You're absolutely right.
So I was under investigation for the last 4 to 5 years, I guess now. And I was never indicted, but I was the first. So it was like Bannon, there were 3 other high profile people. I was the next round of subpoenas. There were 9 of us that second round, I believe. And it was every ABC agency, looking into me, my family, my friends. It was very scary. And I was kind of, told by attorneys to lay low and to kind of wait this out. And, every piece of legal advice was, oh, we'll never get to that point. We'll never get to that point. And then we would get to that point and they would say, this is unprecedented. And I'm so fortunate for my amazing legal counsel. Not only did they keep me out of jail, but they are now in the White House with President Trump as his personal attorneys. So I'm so grateful for that, because brilliant minds. And we've seen the weaponization of government, not just with the J6ers, but on down. I mean, here specifically in Georgia, obviously with our electors and with them indicting President Trump.
That's right. And the RICO case that's still going on to this day.
And I don't think that many people realize that it's still going on. And the people that are still not doing a damn thing about it are Governor Kemp and Chris Carr. They have had the ability to step in at any point, and the authority to step in and take over the case, and they have not done so. And I believe that there is a reason for doing that. Everyone wants to talk about President Trump and Governor Kemp made peace. And sure, they did make peace for the election. But it was for America. It was for the greater good. It was not about that Governor Kemp actually stood with Donald Trump and the American people and his policies of America first. We have seen that time and time again with so many different things that we can get into. But that is why I've kind of transitioned from being at a national level to put a heavy focus on Georgia, because we had very slim margins in 2024. And thank God thank God that Trump won. Absolutely. But it was by, I think, 115,000 votes or something. And then if you go and you start looking down at all the counties and all the down ballot races, I mean, we had a lot that I believe was stolen, honestly, Roy. And no one's focusing on that. Yes, because it's not sexy. It's not cool to talk about, but we don't have any case precedent really to move it through the courts. And, the RNC was focused on getting Trump elected, and they did that. They fought the cases, and it was not the Georgia GOP. They signed their name onto it. It was the RNC that was doing that and leading that effort. And I'm so grateful for that. Whatley and Laura Trump have done an amazing job with the RNC, and we're seeing so much change here at the RNC. There were 47 new members that were elected in this class, which is the largest that we've seen at any scale.
Yeah.
And it's because the American people are waking up. So I'm taking that to the Georgia GOP. I believe that we need serious reform and change so that not only do we all know that President Trump will not be on the ballot moving forward, but we need the infrastructure there that we don't have to rely on outside groups, that when outside groups like Turning Point, Trump Force, Tea Party Patriots, the GRA, I mean, you name it, when they do things and get involved, it just adds on to what we've already built and makes it that much bigger and better.
Okay.
And that is my focus.
Right. All right. Yes, that was a lot. Now, I want to back up really quick because that was a lot to unpack. So let me go back to the beginning. So you are absolutely right. 2020, I can remember just like it was yesterday watching the TV when they were telling us that there was some sort, it went from a pipe leak to a toilet leak to them shutting everything down, realizing that they shut down the whole nation, which was unheard of. Craziness right before our eyes. I was one van away from being up there to January 6th with a group of people that completely fell through. That's how close I came. We were actually trying to book a room and trying to rent a van. So for whatever reason, I wasn't able to make it up there. Our crew didn't. But so much is going on. You brought up the 2022 elections.
And honestly, Roy, it probably worked out. God works in mysterious ways. So for whatever reason, you weren't supposed to be there that day. And I know that it has destroyed many people's lives.
You're right.
I'm fortunate kind of how I've, been able to come out on the other side of it. I've had a very supportive family and a friend group, but many people were not so lucky. People lost custody of their children, jobs, careers ruined, homes lost. So I'm very fortunate to be.
I've got several J6 friends that were kind of in the same boat you were. I've had people that had their money frozen in different accounts. The 3-letter agencies. We did interview Josh Pruitt, who's one of the last ones to get out. It was an amazing story. So yeah, we've been through quite a bit here. Now, I'm glad you said all this, but you said at the very beginning, if somebody would have told you were running for this position a year ago, you would have laughed. If I say this a lot, if somebody would have told me a few years ago I'd be interviewing you on my own, whatever podcast, I would have laughed at you. Why are we here? Why? Obviously, there's issues going on, right? And I'm not trying to get into specifics, but you've named so many things that's happened the last few years. Tell me, why do you think that we're at this point where normal people like you and myself are involved in all this stuff?
Because we love America and we love our freedoms and liberties, and we believe in the United States Constitution. I mean, that's why I am involved. And honestly, politics is a nasty sport. It's rough and tumble, and it's full of sharks and snakes. And I'm very used to that at the national level. And like I said, I've had the opportunity to work in 49 of the 50 states. So I've worked with all the different GOPs at some point. I mean, not, I'm sure every single one, but I've worked with a lot of them, right up from the state level down to the local county groups. And one thing that I will tell you is that most people, while they love politics, and some people are a little weird like me and eat, breathe, and sleep it, but the reality is they're involved because they want to make sure that they have the rights and the freedoms to do what they want in their lives. So they're involved for a short amount of time, and they get, work on something, let's just say for election integrity, and then they're successful in it, and then they go kind of back to living their life, whatever they were doing before, because it allows them to make the best decisions for them and their families without government interference. And I think that that's basically what the American people want. And so I think that we're here specifically in Georgia because we're fighting the uniparty and we're fighting the establishment. It's very unfortunate, but there are a lot of people that even pretend like they are grassroots. And then, with time, their real motivations come to light. And whether that's money or power or a title or just even being relevant, to be completely honest, Roy.
Right.
And listen, anybody can chase fame, fortune, power, whatever you want to say about that. But the reality is that when people do that, it takes away and it takes time and effort and monies away from things that we could actually be going and doing and making a difference.
Right.
And I think that that's kind of where we are as a country, that there are so many new people that have been getting involved that we've never had involved before. And we've had Democrats that have now crossed over to being Trumplicans. And I say Trumplican because they're not traditional Republicans, and the Republican Party by whole is fighting that grip that they do not want to give that up. And we're seeing it firsthand here in Georgia.
True. And I know that we've used the word grassroots to no ends, right? It's sort of been kind of perverted, if you will. But people like myself who have no ambition to run for office, had the seat at the table, it's easy for us to sit back and criticize all the time. But again, it to me, there's a larger problem here. If the systems in place were working, if people were doing what they were supposed to be doing, I probably wouldn't be here and be so concerned. And I think that's the bottom line is we are in a broken system.
I think really, Roy, it can be simplified to say failed leadership. I mean, because that is the way that it's been from the top down. And we're talking about past Republican nominees. We're talking about Republican leadership here in the state, from the governor, attorney general, secretary of state. Then you go to the state house with Speaker Burns. I mean, you just go on down. And then we get to the Georgia GOP. And unfortunately, we have had failed leadership these last 2 years, and it has put the Georgia Republican Party and the local party groups in a very serious situation that is not good leading into 2026. We were fortunate that we had the RNC and Trump Force coming in here, along with the other groups that I mentioned, Tea Party, Patriots, Turning Point, GRA. I mean, there are a lot of auxiliary groups, Greater Georgia. So we are so fortunate to have had those groups and people from outside of the state coming in. But 2026, we're not having that. And Trump is not on the ticket. And this seat is so important. And here is why. Right. Donald Trump, we sent him there with a mandate. The popular vote, he got every swing state. I mean, record numbers. And the American people spoke loud and clear. But we have very slim margins in the House and the Senate. And the second that switches, they will start impeachment sham trials again. They'll go back down that road. And we cannot let that happen. We need Trump to be firing on all cylinders and have the support that he needs to continue on with the America First agenda. And he needs larger margins in both the House and the Senate. And he needs the Senate seat to be an America First person or senator that is in Washington, D.C., giving him the backup and support for the American people. Right. It's not about Donald Trump. It is about the American people.
No,
and people miss that.
I agree. And I want to bring up something that you've mentioned the groups twice. So there's a lot of pushback in what I see and what we're involved with all of this voting and convention and politics. A lot of people now are starting to say, well, we need unity. And there's a lot of people that are kind of throwing groups into the gutter, saying that these groups, like, I'm going to give you a perfect example, the GRA, for example, is being used as like a throwaway group now that is causing so much division and so much splintered. I'm having a hard time understanding this because as a Republican, we're supposed to adhere to the principles. We live under the Constitution of the United States. If the Republican Party is not adhering to those principles and putting those types of people in, i.e. we're getting the kind of leadership like we have under Brian Kemp, what would our alternative be? Because how can you continue to unify under a uniparty? I don't agree that these groups are splintering the GOP, for example. Do you agree with that?
No. So these groups, like the GRI that you're specifically mentioning, It exists because of the failed leadership and unity from the Georgia Republican Party. If the Georgia Republican Party were doing what it needed to do and was successful and welcoming and unifying, the GRA would not really have a reason to exist. And it would be wonderful if they could kind of bring everybody to the table. And when I'm saying they, I'm talking about the Georgia GOP, that sure, there may be things that the GRA wants to more focus on or highlight, that the Georgia GOP does not as a whole. But that does not mean that they shouldn't have a seat at the table and that they should not be recognized as people that are across the state that love America and have Republican principles. Instead, they're cast aside to be fringe, crazy,
Right.
responsible for dividing everyone. I mean, Shelley Winters is the perfect example. He's been on his show this week just bashing the hell out of the GRA and saying that it's their fault that we lost, you know, X, Y, and Z race and they're not doing anything. And I mean, it's just, it's crazy because the reality is we're all stronger standing together. So why are we not trying to figure out how all of these groups can be melded and say, okay, there may be personality conflicts or conflicts here and there because of, you know, long history with the party or whatnot, but there are enough lanes for all of us to be traveling in the same direction on the highway.
I agree.
And we need someone at the Georgia Republican Party to be able to bring everybody to the table and say, look, you have a seat at the table. Everybody's going to be heard. Everybody's going to have a vote. And we're going to figure out how we can try and figure this all out to make the most people happy while keeping our principles and our objectives and goals at the forefront. And we have not seen that. And it's really sad to me, specifically about the GRA, but to any group that is ostracized, because it's not about the group. It is about the people that make up that group.
Right.
And,
And also moving into the legislature, you know, something like the Georgia Freedom Caucus, who I believe has done outstanding work in our legislature to stop a lot of bills that don't even need to go forward, but yet to stand on the Constitution, on family, morals, values. And they're also looked at as a fringe group under the Gold Dome. And I'm like, what kind of level of republicanism is this when we're having to fight our own people just to be able to put a stopgap in some of this like tyrannical legislation? It seems to me like people could come together under a bill that is either very good for the people or bad, but we're not seeing that. It blows my mind.
No, and we're not seeing that because Governor Kemp has it that way where people are doing his bidding. If you look at election integrity bills, which, I mean, that is kind of my niche, obviously, as I explained, surrounding the 2020 election. We have not really gotten here anywhere on election integrity in Georgia. Sure, we have had some small wins and some SEB rules. Yes, but I mean, they're dangling carrots. And for the last 4 years, it's pretty pathetic that we have not been able to get anywhere. And it's not because of the people, the activists, all the different groups, because there are many different election integrity groups that are doing great work here in Georgia. It is because of one simple reason. Governor Kemp does not want election integrity. And he has sent down the orders to everyone that nothing is going to happen. And specifically this past state legislative session, he let several legislators know, and also others just kind of swirling these circles, that if any election integrity measure was put on his desk, he would not only veto it, but then the people that were behind it would be targeted. He would seek retribution.
They even stopped sign die on election bill, you know.
Correct. So what happened with the Georgia GOP? The Georgia GOP puts out a week legislative agenda 3 weeks into session. They never had any executive committee meetings or state committee meetings discussing about what the legislative agenda should encompass. The election integrity task force, I believe is what it was called. There were many people that were not engaged with. They completely were ignored, were not invited to calls, or the information that they sent that was supposed to be included in whatever package just didn't show up. And it ended up being Brad Carver, Josh McCoon, and Alex Kaufman, who is the legal counsel for the Georgia GOP and not an elected person. They decided what the legislative agenda was going to be. It was pushed out on social media. The state committee and the executive committee both found out about it by being pushed out on social media. It was pushed out 3 weeks into session. Like I said, I think it was 22 days. And this is the bottom line. There were election integrity measures to them to the agenda, but they were weak. They were watered down. They did not ask for paper ballots. And why are we even having this discussion, Roy? Because we just elected Donald Trump as president, and
Right.
he just issued an executive order calling for hand-counted paper ballots or
That's correct.
watermarked ballots and one-day voting. So these people want to talk about that they're America first, that they stand with President Trump and so on and so forth. But actions speak louder than words, and we did not see that. And I want to point a very stark contrast of why I think I'm uniquely qualified to be on this position at the Georgia GOP Executive Committee. Because I've had the experience of working all across the nation, I understand and have seen what a functioning state party looks like. I understand how something is supposed to go, even when people within the party feel upset that they're not getting everything that they want, but that they're meeting. You know, the state committee for the Georgia GOP has not met since May of 2024. The executive committee has not met since August of 2024.
Right.
That is completely unacceptable. And when we're talking about the state legislative session, when the election happened, obviously in November of 2024, states started meeting, the Republican Party started meeting at that point to talk about what their legislative agendas were going to be leading into their legislative sessions the following year, beginning this 2025. So there have been some states that have been meeting, 4, 5, 6, 7 times
Right.
Across the nation, because now here we are, almost halfway through
Well,
spring.
How can you argue with some of this stuff? Yes, no communication, no clear plan. I've been down to Atlanta, with Senator Colton Moore. I have been begging my representatives to tell me what they're working on. What can we do to help? Very little to no, reciprocation. We do have a couple of reps that are really working hard and doing good things, but for the most part, we're kind of in the dark. And this has got to stop.
And for this election integrity stuff, Roy, I mean, this is the reality. Josh McCoon and Brad Carver and Alex Kaufman told people, keep your mouth shut. Do not put any legislative pressure whatsoever on our Republicans, because we need them to come to the table to get these election integrity measures passed. And Sally Grubbs was along with towing that line. And it's very disappointing, because here's the reality. Not only do we not get anything for election integrity, but we also got some very terrible bills that have nothing to do with election integrity, right?
Man,
we got the
SB
SB 144 with the pesticides.
Which he just signed today behind closed doors. Yeah.
Yeah. And look, there were other states like Tennessee, for example, that were able to defeat that. And
That's
why
right.
did they defeat that? Is because they were engaged. Their local and state party were on the same page. They unified, they activated the base, and they were able to defeat that horrible legislation. And that's not just for the people of the state, but I mean, that's for future generations that we're talking about as well.
Not to mention, Florida's gotten rid of Dominion, Tennessee's gotten rid of Dominion, I think Alabama has gotten rid of Dominion. All of these states around us have gotten rid of these stupid voting machines. And guess what? Georgia's still steadfast on it. They don't want to hear you talk about it, and it's kind of insane when you look at the optics of all this. Like, it blows my mind.
And why weren't we meeting? Why were we not having subcommittees that were reporting back to the state committee and to the executive committee? Why was the state committee and the executive committee not voting on what the full package was encompassing? It didn't have to just be election integrity. There were other things. I mean, the tort reform, there were other things that we could have been doing too, that were not just these crazy grassroots activists that are hyper focused only on election integrity. Are there certain people that are only focused on that? Absolutely. But guess what, Roy? We can walk and chew gum at the same time.
That's right.
And I'm really sick and tired of people treating us like we're peasants. We must certainly not understand what's going on. There are things being discussed that are way above our pay grade behind closed doors, and they'll let us know when it's relevant and when they decide that we are smart enough to be able to understand what they are articulating.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's just crazy.
I mean, we were through into a whirlwind this year anyway when Speaker Burns' henchmen, blocked and arrested my senator. But I had more than one legislator tell me that if I were to walk in or they were to walk into the chamber and talk about election integrity, they would get laughed out of the room. If you mentioned the Constitution or election integrity, nobody at the Gold Dome wanted to hear it. That was in January before all of this stuff happened. So we obviously know that they're not taking any of this seriously. So,
well, and speaking about your senator, I mean, Colton Moore, he's a warrior. And we need to be elevating him. We need to be propping up and supporting him.
That's right.
I was very disappointed in the Republican Party, how they offered this weak statement of just like a slap on the hand, like, don't do that to Colton Moore, no. But when they had the opportunity to actually do the right thing and flex their muscle and stand with him and stand with the people in his district, because that is what is honestly most important. Yes, it matters about what they did to Colton Moore, and it was wrong and should have never happened. But what is really more important is all the people that he represents, that their voices were also squashed by what they did. And we not only saw that at the state level, but also I'm in Cobb County. I'm in the Roswell, Marietta area, whereas, like I said, I was born and raised. And Cobb County, my former chair, Sally Grubbs, blocked the resolution for Colton Moore to stand with him. And she wants to spin it that, all these different things happened. And again, we can't possibly understand what went on behind closed doors, but I have the emails and I've published them. They're on my Substack that anybody can go and look at. The chair of the resolutions committee was reaching out to Sally Grubbs that they had unanimously passed a resolution to stand with Colton Moore and also call on Speaker Burns to lose his speakership, I believe. And it went completely unanswered. And then when they were finally getting a response to it, it was way too late. And 11 days later, the resolutions chair, Leroy Imkins, finally pulled the resolution because of the way that the rules are written. Nothing could happen with it at that point. It was dead in the water. And I mean, we're talking 11 days that Sally Grubbs could have done something and she chose not to. And I'm sorry, but for me, Roy, this is the thing. If you're a leader and you have people that are standing with you and asking you to do something, you move heaven and earth to do all that you can to make sure that their voices are heard. And it just fell upon deaf ears. So they pulled the resolution and they took it to the GRA, where the GRA passed it. And because they wanted and then it was again blocked when county convention was coming up. It was again blocked from that because of the way that they've changed the rules recently in Cobb County, that only a certain number of resolutions can come up. And I know this not only from the resolutions committee, but also my mom, who is the RNC National Committee woman, tried to submit one for Cobb County as well, because she lives in Cobb, and wrote an incredible resolution to back Colton Moore and to call on Speaker Burns for losing his speakership. So this gaslighting and the narratives that keep getting spun about what people are actually doing, Sally Grubbs was a dear friend of mine, and I have been it's been a rough process watching how she shifted, to be completely honest, stabbed us in the back. And I know that a lot of people get angry with me when I say that. But this is the reality, Roy. It's not just with that one issue. This has happened substantially over the last 8 to 12 months within Cobb County. And living here and being in the district and working with her and also having a personal friendship with her, you can see a shift in someone. And for me, I just want principled people. I just want them to tell the truth. If you don't support the resolution, tell us why, explain why. But don't go put things out on Twitter or on your Facebook saying that you do something and then your actions are the complete opposite. We do not need any more show horses. We need workhorses who actually are willing to do the job that they are getting elected to do and to stand with the people, whether it's in their county or across the state, their district, whatever it is, because we have a very small opportunity to continue riding the ship under President Trump, and that trickles down to the local level. And if we don't do it, then we're going to be back right at that precipice that the Democrats had us back on, leading into 2024.
Yeah, I mean, no doubt. I mean, I can't disagree with that. It almost seems like a lot of this is just placating the same thing we've seen before with the earlier Trump administration, where you see it now in the national legislature, right? We can't even get a DOJ bill passed. We've got senators that are blocking all of this stuff. If we don't codify this stuff, if we don't get it into law, you can kiss it all goodbye. I mean, we cannot operate on executive orders. And it seems to me what I've seen, even in election integrity over the last few years, is just a bunch of putting off until you get across that finish line where you don't have to mess with it. It just, I cannot understand how we can't just do things right, and we can't just get rid of the people. I understand this is a money game. This is a access game, a seat at the table. But business as usual cannot continue because the system is majorly broken, right? We have to change the system. We have to start getting people in these positions that aren't looking for a handout, that are just wanting to make things right. I don't know how plainer I can make that.
So one thing that I want to point out that people don't like to think about, but they need to, is that these people that we send to Washington and to our state house, when we send them to do a job, let's just say election integrity, right? When they get that accomplished, there's no longer an issue that is a heavy fundraiser topic that they can use.
Of course, it's money.
You know, there are many different things. I'm sorry, my phone is dinging in my ear. So there are reasons that people want to kick the can down the road so that there's not really any real solutions. And I talk about this with people in something that's a very tangible way leading into the 2024 election. You know, different factions of the pro-life movement were either championing Donald Trump or they were standing against him. And there was a particular woman that was very outspoken against Donald Trump, saying that he's not pro-life enough for her. And we shouldn't vote for Donald Trump. She went as far to tweet that out. And I was so horrified by that because this is the reality. He is the most pro-life president that we've probably ever had, at least in modern times. And we now have overturned Roe versus Wade, and it has been sent back to the states for the states to make the decision with their citizens of their respective states. And that is a huge shift that we have seen that is moving in the direction of being more pro-life. But this is a reality. It was not really about that Trump was not pro-life and was not standing with her. It was that if Donald Trump got elected again, it totally shifted her organization, major platform that she's raising, you know, tens of millions of dollars, if not hundreds of millions of dollars. So because she would not have that talking point against the Democrats. What was she going to say? Here we are, just keep donating to us.
Right.
I mean, you know, it was going to require a lot more work. She was going to say, okay, this is our plan for X, Y, and Z state, because now we need to go back into these states. We can't just fight this at the national level. They need to build their infrastructure in the respective states and so on and so forth. And people were so shocked by that I'm like, it's not hard. You follow the money.
Follow the money.
Yes. And so you take that example and you look at it at how it applies in many different other ways. And so if you don't get anywhere on election integrity in Georgia, it makes people still have relevance, right? Whether that's in a county position, whether that's at the state house, whether that's a group outside that is coming into Georgia to help us with this. But if they lose that talking point and that thing that they're fighting for, that is a loss of revenue. Right. So we need to really be having these tough conversations. And listen, I know
you just brought up something. You are spot on about this. Absolutely. This is one reason why they keep racism and division down here, because racism makes a lot of money. And if you can just keep the narrative and the division down here, well, you keep all that money flowing in. You know, it's the same thing with, just like you're saying. You're spot on.
Yes. And I know that there are a lot of people across the state that are not fond of how I'm kind of a bull in a china shop. I don't back down. I say exactly what's on my mind, and I, you know, do not hold back. And I do want to say this, Roy, that it's unfortunate that I obviously am not able to have a personal relationship with every single person across the state, but I am very fortunate in that I have worked with so many people and have built a strong Rolodex throughout the country and here in the state of people that I have gotten to personally know that I actually am a really nice person. I know that people want to say that I'm not, but I am. But here's the reality of it. This is not personal for me. This is about accountability and about truth and transparency. And you're either doing things or you're not. None of us have time or the bandwidth, honestly, to spin our wheels talking about any of this stuff ad nauseum and completely being gaslit. We are not dumb. We are intelligent people. I don't care if you have a college degree or you just graduated high school, or if you didn't graduate high school. You could have gone to Harvard. That does not mean that you do not have the opportunity or the right to have an opinion about things and that you can't understand things. And I'm tired of being dismissed and being talked down to.
I agree. I made this comment the other day with somebody I was talking to. I said, if you walked into a crowded function and you just started screaming out people's names that are running for the state convention and you told them it was going to be in Dalton and GOP, they would look at you like cross-eyed. What are you talking about? None of this matters to the people outside of what's going on. It is unfortunate that I see people willing to burn down bridges over this kind of stuff, and at the same time, it's all emotional based. What I can see, it's all trying to attack personally, right? We don't focus on the issues at hand. You can't. Then the other thing you said is the willingness, the people want to corral you into exactly what they want you to be. Not keep the horse blinders on, not look at anything. Don't read this article or analyze it. I am so sick of that. I am a peasant. I will always be a peasant, but I'm one that reads stuff and pays attention and looks at everything on a objective level. And that's where we need to be with all this, really.
Absolutely. And, I think that it's really important that people realize that they're basically shooting the messenger, and it's because they cannot control me. That's why there are so many different people that are coming at me, whether it's Shelley Winters, the radio show host, or someone, from Governor Kemp's realm, or people from outside of the state. And it's because I am not scared to speak my mind and to tell the truth. And listen, I get things wrong. I'm not all knowing. I think that people that are unwilling to admit that they're wrong or that they know everything, there's an issue there, right? They need to be in a different circle if they're not learning from the people that they're around and trying to gain knowledge to move things forward. And if I'm wrong about something, I welcome, that conversation. I will certainly admit to it. Sure. I've created a couple of Substacks, like I mentioned, and obviously my social media accounts. And I tell people all the time, if there's something that I said that's wrong, prove it to me, and I have no issue with correcting it.
Right.
I even wrote this one specific Substack where I said, every occurrence that I'm wrong, I will pay you $100 if you can prove me that I am wrong.
Right.
And still to this day, no one has corrected me on any of those. And it's not about me saying like, oh, I'm right. It's about saying that they're targeting me not on the facts. It is based on that they cannot control me and control my narrative. Right. And on that same subject, I also kind of want to shift and kind of show the counter to that. Is that, again, about bringing people to the table and having these conversations and making them feel seen and heard and a part of whatever the topic du jour is, right? I want to be able to use my social media platform that is kind of big to be able to amplify and help the Georgia Republican Party, to help Republicans in office. But I'm not willing to do that when all they're doing is attacking me. I am going to use it how I see fit and whatever demeanor that is, right? Sometimes that is praising them. Sometimes that is coming out with facts and truths that they don't like, so they assume it is an attack. And this is the reality. Stop doing things that give me fodder to attack over, right? I mean,
I can tell
if you were doing things properly, I wouldn't need to call these things out. But I do want to use my platform as a positive and to help craft and to help amplify the Republican Party message in Georgia. And I would love to have a seat at the table to try and do that. I've tried to work with the current executive committee at the Georgia GOP and have been completely ostracized and shut out. And I've been told to stop tweeting. I literally have been told, I have it in text message from current executive members that are running for re-election, that I have it in writing from them. And that is why I stepped up to run specifically for this position. Because we cannot have a rubber stamp that is just going to tell people that they need to sit down and fall in line. Not happening. I agree. And I'll tell you something, because you have a social media presence, and to anybody that first comes to your social media, of course, it's like, whoa, wow, okay. I mean, everybody reads it, and it's something that, it's a hot topic, but every time that I have spoken to you or I've listened to you speak, right, well, this is a lot of reason I don't answer a whole lot through like Facebook comments and text. The what you're trying to convey always seems to get lost, right? But when we talk, when I listen to how you speak and what you're talking about, it's not only very relevant, but you lay it out a lot more. This is why we want to get to know who Kylie Kremer is. Is basically what I'm saying. So. Social media is a whole different kind of beast, right? It is. I mean, you only have a certain number of characters to get it all in, and you can definitely, not take the correct tone, or I could, incorrectly frame it. That it puts it in a different light that, is not intended. And listen, I think that I'm certainly not all knowing. And while I
Right.
do have a big social media platform, I'm not, one with millions. But I do have a presence on social media, and, I do monetize. A lot of people want to talk about that. I do. And Roy, I mean, listen, my last paycheck and I say that lightly of paycheck because it's
Right.
not, but I mean, for a 2-week thing was like 50 something dollars. I
Sure.
think the
I
time
get it.
before was $79. I mean, I don't know about you, but like, I can't live off of that. I'm sure that anybody else that's watching cannot live off
Well,
of
I
that
mean, look,
every
the
2
bottom
weeks.
line with social media is if you can monetize, why wouldn't you monetize,
Well,
right? Of
exactly.
course. I mean, that's
And sure,
let's
it's a
just be
bonus.
real.
Listen, the reason that I monetize is because it's a bonus
Exactly.
for anything that I do. But no, I
And
do have a
Lord,
real job.
we don't have any USAID funds coming our way or
No,
taxpayer slush fund money, so we have
we
to do
don't.
what we can. We're kicking and scraping by.
Correct. And
Okay.
so I do have a real job, and I want to make sure that people know that
Okay.
that I'm not doing it for social media clicks or monetization. If some of the people that are attacking me over this, if they had the opportunity to monetize, I'm sure that they would. It's just a way that they can try and drive a wedge between people. But I work for a small boutique firm in Washington, D.C., doing government affairs and public relations. I am based in Atlanta, so I'm not living in DC, but I do, travel there when necessary or to things across the country because I have clients all across the country. And so I'm very fortunate to help make sure that we're implementing President Trump's agenda.
Right.
One of the things that I'm working on is bringing an American company, but a textile manufacturing company that has the manufacturing in China. We are working on bringing that back to America because we want to bring manufacturing back to the United States. So I can walk and chew gum at the same
Right.
time, Roy. And I'm very fortunate to be in the position that I am, to have the opportunities that I do, that I've worked very hard to
Right.
achieve, and that I continue showing up and to do. And I want to help bring my expertise and talents to the Georgia Republican Party.
Right.
I'm not better than anybody else. I don't think that I know more than anybody else, but I do have the experience and the wisdom that I would like to share what I've learned working all across the nation and help implement it here in Georgia so that we can have a bigger, a better, a stronger Republican Party so that we are not only set up better leading into 2026, but also that we need to start helping these down ballot races.
That's
We need
right.
to make sure that we actually have Republicans on every open,
Oh boy,
um,
do I agree.
not just open seat, but it should never just be just a
It
Democrat
should
running.
never.
And the Georgia Republican Party needs to offer those different candidates down ballot support and leadership to, there may be people that have never been really involved in politics. Maybe they're a business owner or they're retired or whatever the situation is, and said, look, I agree with all these principles, but I don't really know what I'm doing here. How do I get involved?
Right.
And we should have that at the Georgia Republican Party.
Oh, I agree.
And I think by activating the state committee and the executive committee and doing a collaborative effort with all the different members, that's why this is important to me. It's not just about being assistant secretary,
Right.
just stating the obvious, but in case anybody wants to know, yes, I do. I do know what the assistant secretary's role is, and that is to assist the secretary. I am
Okay.
more than willing to do that, whether it's Cindy Ellen Nixon or Susie Boyles. And this is the reality, is that it's more than just that role, right? I mean, people have said, why are you just doing that? I was made fun of the other day. Like, you're basically signing up to be a Georgia GOP intern. And first of all, that's a little degrading because it's a volunteer position for everybody there.
That's right.
But secondly, it's more than that because you're representing people across the state and you're a vote on the executive committee, which carries a lot of weight with it. And I want to make sure that, I am making the people around the state have their voice heard at the executive committee, because I don't think that we currently feel that way. I know that I don't. I mean, they're not meeting, so they're not voting on anything.
Right.
And we need to change that. So
No, and I think
that's
you're
why
right.
it's so important to me.
And also, I'd like to bring up one more thing, because, I don't do endorsements on the show. I've got more people coming between now and June, but I will tell you this, no matter who gets elected to your position, the chairman position, the second, it doesn't matter at this point. What my point is that you have too many eyes on everything that is going on, right? So whoever is elected to these positions, everything that they do moving forward is going to be scrutinized because the people do not trust. They don't have faith in what we have currently. going on. And when we go into the future, everything is going to be looked at with a fine-tooth comb. And I hope that we all understand that, because there's too many eyes now that is trying to make this thing better and more transparent, and it will no longer be business as usual, correct?
I mean, look, I hope not. And it shouldn't be.
It shouldn't be.
I've talked to different people all across the state, and when they hear, all across the nation, and when they hear that we haven't had executive committee meetings, that we haven't had state committee meetings, that our treasurer does not have access to the bank accounts or to the credit card statements, I mean, people are horrified. And this is the reality. This is not about any one person. It's not about any personality or personal grudge or anything like that. It's about having and it is about having a functioning Georgia Republican Party. We would not be in this mess if it had been, fixed and rectified several years ago.
Right.
But unfortunately, this is by design, and Governor Kemp has obviously a history of seeking retribution against people. And when he was booed off of the convention stage a couple of years ago, yes, then he created the coalition, and his goal has been to smush the Republican Party ever since. And the plan is for him to be able to swoop back in for 2028. Like I've been saying for a while, he was not running for the Senate. People were saying I was crazy. He was. And, yep. And, and I'm not trying to say that of like, oh, I'm right. Listen to me. But no, it's about what is going on in the chess pieces of how they're moving.
Yes, and you bring up a good point.
I can see them.
Because guess what? The peasants, a lot of us peasants saw that just by paying attention and realizing that. I know everybody was thinking that Kemp was. No, you can see a lot of these chess pieces down here, and I hope these people know we can see it.
Correct. And this is the thing. I mean, look, had he decided to have run, I mean, there were certain people that wanted him run, including the NRSC and the Trump campaign, right? Because he had the most name ID, and they thought that he was polling the best against Senator Ossoff. And the goal is to get this seat back. And while I agree and I see that perspective, certainly, I mean, you have to not only listen to the people across the state of Georgia, and we don't want a Senator Kemp, but beyond that, I mean, it really is. We don't need another squishy rhino going to the Senate, pretending like they're America first, and then turning around and stabbing Donald Trump in the back. You look at Senator Tom Tillis in North Carolina, he's just stabbed Donald Trump in the back twice. First, by standing in the way of the confirmation of U.S. Attorney General Ed Martin. And then secondly, he's now standing in the way of Donald Trump trying to cut all of our prescription drug prices.
That's right.
What is going on here?
These people are insane.
Yes. And we don't need another Georgia senator that goes there and does the same thing. We need someone that is principled. And I'm very excited to see how this primary season shapes up. Obviously, we have a lot of time before the field settles. Well, I mean, we don't have a lot of time. But
the candidates I'm seeing now are scary. So,
but we have a lot of time to see how it's all going to play out, that we don't need to make a decision right now. And we can just let this kind of play out and do, we just need to let the chips fall as they may. And
just take it one day at a time for now.
Right. And whoever the Republican nominee is, we're going to rally and support, but we need to be doing that and firing on all cylinders. And that means having an infrastructure within the Georgia Republican Party, that we're helping the local GOPs. We're helping get a ground game going on, because we don't have Trump force that's coming in, and we need to be raising a lot more money. I mean, for the Georgia Republican Party to only have raised $3 million this last this last election cycle on the tails of Donald Trump is, I mean, honestly, it's abysmal. Not only are we a swing state, but we are one of the most important states for various reasons.
Ground zero.
And yes, we're ground zero. And we need to up our fundraising game. But why is the fundraising not happening, Roy?
I don't know, because everything is in such disarray at the moment.
I can answer that for you. What my perspective is, and from talking to people all across the state, is two things. Number one, there is zero transparency. I talk to donors all the time that say, I am not giving. I don't like what I'm seeing. There are so many questions about the legal bills that are going on. And then we're now finding out that we have zero transparency even with our treasurer, because she has bravely come forward and said that she does not have access to the bank accounts. And what we're digging through FEC records and finding things for personal trainers and ladies boutiques and $1,700 dinners. And I mean, just absolute craziness. If you compare that with the FEC reports from any other state, it does not look like that. The Georgia Republican Party's looks like a personal bank account. So you have the zero transparency that donors will not donate. They just give directly to the candidates. But then secondarily to that, which is almost just as important, if not equally important, is the fact that we are not doing anything. There's nothing tangible that people can grasp to that can, say like, oh, I'm glad that, my efforts and money is going to this, or my talents. They're very frustrated. They're not going to continue showing up to volunteer, to giving money. And the reality of it is of course we need the large donors that give $50,000, $100,000, on up. But we also need those $5, $10, $15 donors that are the mom and pops, on a fixed income that have budgeted to give, $10 a month. And they do that consistently. And it gives the Republican Party the backbone that we need to build out and staff up the Georgia Republican Party. If you look at the state of Alabama, I believe that they have 7 people on staff right now. And it is not obviously it's not an election cycle, but they're also not a swing state. So they have 7 people on staff in the state of Alabama because they are able to fundraise and to make their party work with engaging with their state committee. The chairman there, is doing a great job. You look at Texas, something very similar is happening where they're turning around their Republican Party. They're a couple of years ahead of us. But they're making sure that they get their rhinos out. And I know that people don't want to say, oh, don't say rhino. I mean, that is what it is. They're Republicans in name only. Yeah. They don't stand with America first and with President Trump.
I couldn't agree
So
more.
those 2 things are the biggest things that why we need to turn our fundraising around and how we can equally do that. Hold legislative days at the state capitol. Hold, different events and town halls in different districts around the state. Do work on different legislative agendas and ideas. There are so many things that we can be doing, press conferences, social media pushes.
I do agree. Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot. You utilize the people of the party, right?
Yes. And listen, I bring up Alabama specifically because somehow I got on an Alabama legislative update list from the Alabama Republican Party. And I think I get a weekly update from them about exactly what is happening. Wow. And yesterday I got this great infographic that was broken into 3 categories. And I believe that today is their last legislative day in session, maybe. I could be a little wrong on that. I was not paying attention because I don't live in Alabama. So I was not, looking over it with a fine tooth comb. But they had 3, it was about election integrity. And they had 3 different categories. And it was 1, these measures have already passed. It was a middle that these are likely going to pass. And then there was a 3rd with fingers crossed saying, we hope this passes. Let's still apply pressure because there's still a chance.
That's good.
And I would have loved for us to get that, an infographic that we could share out on social media that came from the Georgia Republican Party to say, look, this is what we are, the current status of everything going into sign die. And is that how you say it? Sign die?
It is.
And, that would have been wonderful. It would have kept people informed, engaged, and we just need to be doing that on so many different fronts. And I mean, there's such an opportunity to do things bigger and better than we're doing them that I don't want to burn down the Republican Party. I don't want to tear people down. I don't want to tell people that they can't have a seat at the table. But what I want is accountability, truth, and transparency.
That's right.
I want the opportunity to implement different measures that we've seen work in other states and to try things that maybe haven't been tried in other states, but that people want to do here in the state of Georgia. And I'm sorry, my phone keeps dinging.
That's all right.
So who's ever texting me, please stop. So I really want to stress that we have such an opportunity here, and I want to work with everybody. I want to engage with everybody, and I want everybody to know that there is a different pathway forward that we can take, and that maybe they just don't have the experience or the knowledge because they've only known about the Georgia Republican Party. This is all they've ever had the opportunity to be involved with, and listen to the people and be willing to take their advice and just hear them out, of people that do have the experience of things to show otherwise.
Right.
And maybe we can get somewhere that everybody's a little more happy with.
Absolutely. All right. Now, good information there, Kylie. Very good information. And we're going a little bit over the hour, so I'm going to go through everybody's comments, and we're gonna try to just do questions only. I may read a couple comments because I don't want to keep her on much longer, because she's got a lot to do.
And I can come back with you if you would like at some point.
All right.
I love it.
Christopher Rayleigh, good to see you. Lisa Adams, Carol Streeter, and Christopher Rayleigh says, still waiting on charges for Keith Williams. Colton Moore deserves better. He's such a patriot. I hope that we're going to be able to explore that a lot deeper here in the next few weeks, and we might even get Senator Moore on the show again. We'll see. Richard,
well, and I want to say, you were talking about the GRA and Mallory Staples, who's with the Freedom Caucus. She was at the GRA this past weekend, and she got a standing ovation. I mean, she just brought down the house. People were so happy and aligned with everything that she was saying.
Yes.
And Charlize Byrd was also there.
Yes.
Senator Moore was unable to be there, but he offered his support and his, kind words, and he's very supportive of the GRA. And I mean, that's what people want to see. They are sick and tired of these squishes. And, if people don't want to see that, then maybe they don't need to be a part of the GRA. But there's still room for the GRA at the GOP, or at least there should be.
Absolutely. I agree with that. So, Hardy, Strongbear, Taylor, good to see you. Let's see. Christopher Rayleigh says, what are your thoughts on Simp Kemp stealing the Georgia GOP money for his Chinese PAC? Leadership committee. So I think he's talking about the bill that was passed, the coalition bill, where they get to collect all the money. So
yes, and we need to do something about that.
Yes.
I mean, that's one of the reasons that they don't listen to us, is because they don't need us.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get any fundraising emails from my state senator or representative, and that's because they don't need to ask for it. They get the money from the Kemp Coalition.
That's right.
So we need to go back and change that so that they actually work for us and that they need us. Absolutely.
All right,
and that's something that the Georgia Republican Party should be speaking about.
Well, you're right. There's a lot of silence there when it comes to that. So, okay. Jamie Holsey watching. Thank you, Jamie. Christopher, and I think that got your question answered. Lisa Pierce is watching. She is running for first vice chair as well. So good to see you, Lisa. Thank you for being with us.
And I hope that people go and look at her website, reach out to her on social media. She has an incredible track record of turning Upson County on the right path and growing it to be bigger and better. And I know you've had her on the show.
Yeah.
So
and she was on War Room today too.
Watch it.
Absolutely.
Yes, and we need her.
I like Lisa Pierce. Good to see you, Lisa. Let's see here. I'm going to go down because we're a little bit on time. David Naha, good to see you. Joe McCoy, Truth Matters, and she's telling it like it was and is. Total thank you. Can't wait to have our show, Joe. Richard Schroeder points out 2% razor thin margin, which is exactly what we've been talking about here. Tim Sharp, good to see you. I follow Tim on X. Thank you for watching.
So Tim was in Washington, D.C. with me on January 6th.
Wow.
I've known him. He ran for State House in Florida, and he's now in Tennessee. His family lives there. But he's a friend, and, he's doing great work. He's been helping a lot of us. I know that you guys obviously have become acquainted, but he's helping change things here in Georgia. And so we're grateful for that. I'm
glad you said he's in Tennessee. Tim, I hope that you're watching Tennessee, because right now they're sitting pretty, they're getting the bills passed and they're blocking the things that we can't get blocked, but you got to keep a hold on them, because I know Nashville can get pretty wacky with the Democrats. So,
and how fortunate are we that we have people outside of the state that are willing to help in our state, because their state is going smoothly. I mean, because that's kind of what I was doing before, for all those years. And now I'm honed in on here, and I'm grateful that I have friends and support from all across the country that are offering and showing up to support here in Georgia, because we need that. We can't do this all on our own. We're up against Goliath, and look, Donald Trump did it, but I believe it was a God thing, and he is there for a reason. Gotcha. And the rest of us, we need to remain steadfast and just keep pounding the drum of the things that we're talking about. And however we get that help, we need to be accepting of it and grateful.
That's right. 100%. Mike Dean Tiles, thank you for watching. Christopher Rayleigh says, I'm a Trump Republican, not a Kemp Chinese mouthpiece. I mean, come on.
Same here.
I hear you.
And I'm not a panicking either.
That's right. No, Lord, no panicking. Oh my goodness, we could go for a whole show on that.
I know.
And the GOP created the GRA. There's probably a lot of truth in that. So
there is.
He also says, "Oh, go ahead."
That's okay. Go ahead.
He says MTG, Colton Moore, and every base conservative is part of the Freedom Caucus. Amen to that. So, Barbara,
and we need to grow it.
That's right. Barbara Hambrick, good to have you tonight. It's not the bill, it's the partisanship. You're right about that. It's a little bit of both. It's a mess is what it is. We've got to get on top of it. Richard Schroeder says the Georgia Mafia must be stopped. I agree. And, Kenny Barnett, good to see you, Kenny. Welcome to the show. Denise Sorkness says, due to DOGE mandates, the higher education resolutions to be presented at the GOP state convention is critical. We are going to do a show breaking that down. I know War Room did one, and I'm very interested in going in depth there. So
I would love to know more about that.
Yes.
One thing that I do want to point out is our national committee woman, who also is my mother, but she introduced 4 rule changes for the state GOP. I think that it would be terrific for you to have her on to discuss those things, because they're things that we need to get past. But the first, I think, is the most critical and crucial. Well, really, they all are, but it's to do a conflict of interest. So anybody serving on the state committee or the executive committee cannot be an employee of the state and cannot have had contracts with the state within the last 3 or 4 years, I believe.
Wow.
The people that are currently there would be grandfathered in because we have to do that. But moving forward, that would not be an option. And I think that we need that accountability there at the Georgia Republican Party to make sure that there are not conflicts of interest that are going on. And then also to have transparency with the finances, that a monthly report would be published for Republicans across the state from the treasurer to include all of the things that we are asking questions about and getting nowhere with.
Right.
And then there are 2 others that are escaping me off the top of my head, but it would be wonderful if you guys could bring that into the conversation about resolutions.
Me a perfect opportunity to ask Mrs. Kremer to come on the show. So,
well, and listen, because there's so many things that are going to be happening at this convention. It's not just solely about the election. Obviously, that's probably the hot topic and is a main focus. Absolutely. But there's also other business that will be had at the convention that people need to prepare now, that it is going to be a long, long day. It's probably going to be very contentious. People are going to be hot, tired, hungry. So bring snacks, be prepared to be there all day.
That's right. I'm hoping to get Alex Johnson back. We did one for county convention, district. So hopefully him and I, maybe in the next week, are going to be able to do the state convention, and we can really gear people up and give them all the insight we can get. So
yes.
Okay. Wow. Chris Rayleigh, he's always got amazing comments. We'll have to go back and look at all of them, Chris, because we're running a little
Chris.
bit. Yeah, Chris is he's a cool cat. So, let's see. Pat Bowman Moravec. She says, I hope she wins. Way to go, Kylie.
Thank you so much.
And Lisa, thank you. And like I said, I can't wait to do an interview where you break down everything that you were talking about, the technical, I believe, or not the technical, but the college system. I know a little bit, and I've seen your interview before, but again, we're gonna explore that. Dana Bridges Tate says, I want to learn more and get involved. Lisa Adams is trying to help me. That's great. You've got a great person that's trying to help you. And she also agrees God definitely placed Donald J. Trump in office. I think we can all tell in July of last year, we got the sign. So. Oh,
and I don't know, Roy, if you've been watching what's going on in the Middle East right now.
Yes.
President Trump was just in Saudi Arabia. Now he's in Qatar.
Yes.
Or I think you say it Qatar.
It's Qatar, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and it has just been, I was getting choked up watching videos earlier this morning of him saying goodbye to the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia. The respect and the treatment that they have given him is unlike anything that we've ever seen before,
and what
quite
did
honestly.
He do? He called out everything, the color revolutions that's been going on, and how we've been the evil empire, basically, has been trying to change this whole world. And he's like, no, you guys be you. let's work together. And it was so beautiful, and to listen to him talk and all of the money he's bringing into this country. And it's like
$600 billion
$600 billion
from Saudi Arabia. And I mean, yes, you're absolutely right. He was calling out the interventionalists, and also the so-called nation builders have done nothing but tear nations down. Yeah. And listen, I mean, I know it's hard for people to take all of this in and to understand what's going on at the state and local level, and also at the same time be aware of what's going on at the national level, as well as what's going on with our foreign policy. But if you have the opportunity to go and watch some of the footage out of Saudi Arabia, I encourage people to do so. I think that it's one of the best speeches that he has ever given. And I'm very proud of the president and grateful.
Amen. Amen. Absolutely. And Jan Brendan Sheffield says, "Hey guys, you rock. Thank you." She says, "Now is the time to take down the swamp. I'm ready for more patriots to step up to battle." So.
And Roy, I just want to point out as well, this is an interesting race because I don't have access to be able to email the delegates.
That's right. The NDA list. Yeah.
Correct. So they first tried to keep me off the ballot, and they eventually caved to that because we were threatening legal action against the Georgia Republican Party. So they placed us on the ballot, but now they will not give us the delegate list. And I'm very proud not to have signed the delegate list, but that does not mean that it's because I don't want to be able to contact the delegates.
Right.
I would love to be able to contact the delegates. So for the people that are watching your show, connect with me, please, over social media. I will have a website that's going up later this week because it's just been a lot going on that I wasn't sure if I was even going to be able to run. But I would not sign that list because of the terrible non-disparagement clause that is attached to it. That for anything, anything that is considered disparaging and what is right. I mean, we don't know what that means and who would be enforcing it and deciding that.
I think I even retweeted one of your posts today that you were kind of highlighting. You might have gotten charged $25,000 to say what you were saying. So,
Exactly. I said, I wouldn't even be able to talk about this without being charged for $25,000. And this is the reality. I absolutely believe that the Georgia Republican Party needs to protect the data of the Georgia GOP and all the delegates, because that is like our property. It may not be a physical building, but it is data that is very valuable. And I do believe that a document needs to be signed, an NDA. That means non-disclosure agreement. It's a terms agreement that says that you will not utilize this list, sell this list, use it for nefarious purposes, etc. But what I do not agree on is trying to suppress free speech, and for trying to set the terms of engagement with people so that you make it the hoops that they have to jump through completely unrealistic, setting the court case to be in Fulton County should they try to pursue it.
It's unrealistic, big time.
Yes.
Come on. I mean, let's just call it what it is. Come on.
Yeah, it is completely unrealistic. And listen, I want to tell your listeners and watchers.
Yes, you get the last word here.
When I was executive director of Women for America First, the government, the federal government, the DOJ, the January 6th committee, all these agencies, one thing that I fought them very hard with legally was getting access to our donors into our database. They legally do not have that right or reason to have our donors or our database. And it costs tens of thousands of dollars to fight that. And it was a long process. But I believed that they wanted those lists for one reason only, Roy, and that was to target people. And they wanted to take those lists to go after them, much like we saw with the IRS many years ago, back with the Tea Party movement. And that is something that I fought very hard to protect. I have an email database that's close to 1 million people from all the work surrounding the November 2020 election. And not only do I not use it right now, but I've never sold it. I've never given it to anyone, and I protected it from the federal government. So this whole narrative that I'm going to sell it, this is how I make money, any of those things, I mean, it's a complete fabrication. And it's actually very offensive because to great lengths I have gone to protect and defend Women for America First supporters all across the nation. And that's not just women, it's men and women of all different backgrounds, religions, races, that I have stood strong with. And it was my responsibility as executive director to protect that. And I believe that the Georgia Republican Party needs to do the same. And that has not been done, except for, a select few people that they want to target and blame them for things that they're not responsible for or that they have no intention of ever doing.
Got you. Well, Kylie, I certainly appreciate you being on the show. I look forward to continuing having a dialogue with you. I wish you the best of luck, as I wish all the candidates the best of luck. And again, but thank you. Boy, we could have went on for 2 hours, but I appreciate it. And thank you guys for hanging out with us. All your questions, all your comments, appreciate it so much. Appreciate all the support that y'all are giving me. I do not deserve this kind of support, but again, like I said, we're off the sidelines. We're out here in the trenches, and we've got to stand up, and we got to take this thing forward in the right direction. So,
and thank you, Roy, so much for what you're doing. I'm so proud of you, and you're trailblazing here in the state of Georgia for sure. Your ratings are growing each and every day, and I so appreciate that you are just continuing to pound the drum. And anything that I can do to support you, let me know.
Well, thank you guys, and thank you, Kylie. And like I said, guys, we'll have more to come. We're scheduling more. We got a lot to cover between, especially now in convention, and then the summer is going to be wild. So we're going to get off here. You give me 30 seconds before you leave, Kylie. And guys, y'all have a wonderful evening, and we will see you soon.
The legislature legalized unverifiable voting in 2000.
Like you said to Trump, but they're getting beauty. Thank you.
They said, go out there and rob these houses and bring back the bounty, and then that'll pay your way.
Because Republicans who get endorsement from Georgia carry that they mean anything.
You can't sit on the sidelines any longer. You must get involved in the game. This is your sign.